Let me let them in. Admit all. Okay. All right, beautiful humans. How are we all doing?
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Feel free to use the chat to say hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are.
Yep. Just make sure you're muted. And yeah, say hi. We'll get started in a few minutes here, just letting everybody kind of hop on.
Good morning. Good
Happy
morning.
holidays to all of you who are celebrating a holiday of some sort. I know I'm looking forward to this too, Christina. I have a lot to say. We'll see where we go with all of this. Because I know a lot of people are feeling a lot of things. And if you're anything like me, I had a lot of feelings to sort out around this. It took a while. It took a while. And so I'm hoping, I really loved when we sent out the emails about this. Somebody actually wrote in and said like, oh my God, thank you. Like, I have been struggling with this for like 2 years and I felt this way and I felt this way. And I know it's my personal responsibility, but thank you. Finally, like helping me release some of this guilt and shame. And so we're going to talk about all of it from all different. Yeah, Claire, you're like 5 years here. I've been trying to figure out what's going on in my head. And so we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about a lot of the tangible aspects of this too. Because at the end of the day, the way our world is set up, ethical marketing makes for doing business. It's not as easy as doing unethical marketing, I'll tell you that. And so we're going to kind of talk about some of the pitfalls we fell into and kind of how we've been able to create something that's working. And yeah, because it's been a road. And
it's been a ride. It's definitely been a ride. Before we actually, as we were deciding whether or not we wanted to have this conversation, we were really back and forth as to like, should we talk about this? We've made a conscious effort not to be active members of the coaching community and really shifted our business a couple of years ago, in light of all of this kind of ick that goes on inside of the coaching space. And it's been a conscious effort for us to stay out of serving the coaching industry. But literally before Christmas, right before Christmas, like opportune times, we're like, no, we have so much to say. We've learned so much. It's been a wild ride. And so we just wanted to bring everyone together to have the conversation. We hope everyone has come with an open mind, use the chat. Feel free to bring questions because this isn't us just like talking. We really want it to feel communal. And I want, and I know Sarah wants everyone to just feel very seen, because I think one of the biggest issues inside the coaching space is that your voice, your feelings have been kind of squished or manipulated. And that is a very real living, breathing issue that we have seen in the past. And so we don't want that. Bring it all in. And if we schedule 2 hours, if we don't go 2 hours, no problem. If we're going and flowing and we're like, oh my goodness, there's so much more to unpack here, we'll schedule another Q&A session or something so that we can keep the fun rolling.
Yep. But yeah, so I'm going to talk for a while kind of just about my personal experience and what I kind of started to discover as I started to unravel this, and then kind of how we shifted. And then I'm going to hand it over to Melissa.
Sarah, before we...
Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, let's not forget to introduce ourselves. So many
yes, I will.
that have decided to join.
Yes, I will. I was going to introduce myself as I was when I started talking. And then you can I'll either introduce you or you can introduce yourself, whichever you want to do. But I'm going to talk for a little while, then I'm going to hand it over to Melissa. She's going to talk more about like the tangible kind of aspects and some of the business, because she's our CEO. And then we'll open it up for Q&As. So I'm trying to just let these people in. Okay, so I am Sara Longoria. I see a lot of familiar faces here, so a lot of you know me, and some of you may be completely new and not know me. I am the founder and owner of Hey You Human, right back there. Melissa is the CEO of Hey You Human. She has been with us for 3 years, almost 3 years, right?
Coming up 3 years, yes.
Coming up 3 years. We've been in business we're in our 5th year of business, and we've done a lot in those 5 years. We actually started off very, very much in the coaching space, very much in the, spiritual coaching space, the manifesting world, the business money-making space. And it was under Sara Longoria Coaching at that point. And we've done really well. We're a multi-million-dollar business. We hit the millions in 2020. We have had our ups, we've had our downs, we've had our ups. And we're going to talk about all of that. But we have continued to stay in business and pivot and grow and do all of the things throughout all of this. Probably about maybe like a year ago, probably about 2 years ago, I really started to feel it was on my way to $1 million. It was probably summer of 2020 when everything was going amazing. I really started to feel off about a lot of things in the coaching world. And I know that there's a lot of you here that are either business owners and you're like, yes, I feel this too. I feel like this is off, or people who've taken a lot of courses and there's this whole personal responsibility thing. And we're kind of watching the coaching industry right now. And there's a lot of people being called out. There's a lot of things being said. And this honestly isn't the first time this has happened in this industry. This coaching industry, this personal development industry has been around for a long time. And there's been the times when the Grant Cardones and the Tony Robbins have been called out. Like this happens. And every time this happens, the way the majority of the coaching personal development world responds to it is personal responsibility. It's personal responsibility, y'all. You shouldn't have bought the course. You shouldn't have spent that money. It's not my problem. All I'm doing is putting good product out into the world. It's not my fault. You feel bad about yourself and needed to buy it to feel good about yourself. That's not on me. It's not on me. And that's how it's always responded. The people who are calling them out are usually shamed. Right? There's this big upheaval and we're watching it happen. I'm watching it happen all over again. They were going after the people saying all these things, and all these people came back with beautifully curated responses. I realize now that I'm not trauma informed. I realize now I shouldn't be working with this type of person. I realize now, right? All these different people are coming back with these beautiful statements of, you were right. You were right. I shouldn't have been working with this person. And really, we're going to break this down because how they're all responding is just another level of manipulation, shame, bypassing, and fucking bullshit. I'm going to say it, y'all, because it is. And we go through this cycle each time. And the problem is that what is happening is so subtle, is so unconscious, is so in between the lines that most people actually don't know what's happening. So when these people come back with this shit, it like silences everyone. They're like, oh, well, that sounds good. Well, damn, maybe it is me. Damn. And you crawl back in your hole of shame. And you just sit there and go, well, it was me. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. I'm bad. I'm never going to be good enough. And they continue to rise. And it's this cycle that continues to play out. And quite honestly, you guys, it plays out in a lot of other industries. This is not the only industry that this cycle of manipulative, brain hijacking marketing is playing out. It's playing out all over the place. That actually feeds in to the personal development world and is one of the reasons why it continues to build and continues to be strong. So I get it. I get it. I see you. I hear you. You are not wrong. Your brains have been hijacked. You have been manipulated. You have been subtly and unconsciously shamed. You have been put into a system of marginalization and oppression that puts money on the top here and makes you think you're less than if you are not rolling in the dough with all the luxury and all the things, and then continues to prey on your wounding around that started in childhood and is constantly reinforced by a toxic capitalistic marginalization and oppressive culture. It's not you. It's not you. It's them. Is there personal responsibility? Yes. Of course there is. Of course there's a ton of personal responsibility that goes into this. But the problem is that the people at the top are not being personally responsible. So you can't call personal responsibility out on others if you are not being personally responsible. And what do I mean by that? I mean that when you are using tactics where you are manipulating and hijacking people's brains, you're not taking personal responsibility for your actions. So don't call that out on others. Now, I'm going to break this down for you guys, because here's the thing. I can easily sit here and say marginalization, oppression, manipulation. But you're like, but what are they actually doing? Because I know what's happening, but what are they actually doing? Because that's how a lot of you probably feel, right? You feel like you've been manipulated. You feel like your brain's been hijacked, but you're like, what, how? Like, break it down for me, because I don't see it. And quite honestly, I don't know if they see it. I think some of them do, but I think there's others that don't, because I will be quite honest with you. We were doing this. We were doing a lot of this. We hadn't gone to the extremes that some have, but we were doing this in our business, and I didn't even know it. And I even remember the conversation I had with Melissa where I started breaking it down for her, and she was like, no, that doesn't seem right. No, they're personally responsible for this. No. And I kept breaking down. She's like, meh. And then it took her months to get it. Guys, this has taken me years to unpack and figure out. And it all started when Black Lives Matter happened. Don't know if you remember that fun time, pandemics, Black Lives Matter. We were on fire in business. We were multi-$100,000 months, just raking in the money, doing all the things. And then this thing, Black Lives Matter, happened, and it derailed me, you guys. And I couldn't understand why. I couldn't understand why. It derailed me. I was so upset about it. I felt so bad about so many things, but I couldn't understand why, because I was like, well, I'm not a racist person. I don't go out and I'm like, I hate Black people. I was so confused, because I'm like, I don't understand it. And I remember sitting in all these rooms with people talking about this, talking about how we're all feeding into this thing called privilege and oppression, and I was like, no, we're not. I could not get it for the life of me. I could not get it. I was like, no, I am doing good in the world. I am helping people understand their emotions. I am helping people live better lives. No, I am not feeding into this at all. And I was annoyed. I remember being in a mastermind where they brought in Trudy LeBron, who I actually think is a fantastic person to learn about this. She has a great book called The Anti-Racist Business Book. Great book. But I remember literally sitting in a room with her and being like, this bitch is dumb. She doesn't know what she's talking about. This is terrible. no. And I saw her once and I didn't even listen to her again. I wrote her off and I never went back. Why? Because I didn't want to see it, you guys. Because once you see it, you can't fucking unsee it, and it sucks. It sucks. It changes everything. It turns your entire world upside down and basically shakes it out. And you're like, oh no. And so I commend all of you guys for being here right now, because these are not easy conversations to have. These are not easy things to talk about and see. Because like you just said, Melissa, or what, you can't unsee it. Once you see it, you're like, oh no, like that little Instagram that goes on. Oh no, no. Right? You're like, oh no. Like,
and then you see it everywhere, every post you read, every live, every email, you're like, ah.
And so you see it and you're like, oh no. And so what basically I began to understand when Black Lives Matter happened, and it took me a while, guys, I'm going to tell you, after that happened, I kind of just sat in it for a while. Like for months, I just sat in this business that felt completely terrible. Like I just sat here going through the motions, doing the things, making the money, showing up in my coaching sessions, doing all of it, with this part of me being like, something is so wrong about this, but I don't know what it is, because at the end of the day, I am helping people. I'm not hurting people, I'm helping people. And so it was really confusing. And I know a lot of you who have businesses, it's confusing. But here's the thing, and there's a lot to unpack around this. There's so much to unpack around this. Our world for centuries has been built on a white, rich authority. Now, this holds true definitely for men. I think men can definitely, like, we can say, oh yeah, you know, the rich white patriarch, blah, 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 blah. But it also holds true for women. White, rich, white and rich, white and rich, white and rich. We have created worldwide a culture where white and rich is best. Now you can say, oh, it's not true, all you want, but it is so fucking deeply ingrained into our subconscious, into our unbiased selves, that it literally can't be ignored. And I actually saw a thing the other day that somebody had posted on their Instagram where they were asking people out on the streets, where has male white privilege hurt you?
Sorry, I should be muted.
And they were asking all these different people, and a lot of the people were like, they're like, give us an example. We want an example. And so they're going through this, and the people are like, an example. And like, they can't come up with an example. And so this person was basically saying, see, male white privilege isn't hurting the world. People can't even come up with examples. Okay, great, because a lot of them aren't tangible. You may have been a person who went in to get a job and you didn't get it because that guy behind the counter has been so programmed with white, luxury, rich authority that he's going to go with the person who is white, who looks like they come from the highest socioeconomical background and is likely male. Not because they might look the best on paper, not because they might have the best qualifications, but because that's what's been ingrained into our culture, that is best. It's unconscious. It's unconscious. What we're talking about here and what's going on in this industry and in the world right now is unconscious. And that's why it's so hard to put our finger on. That's why it's so hard to call these people out and actually continue to get them to see it. Because they just come back and say, well, don't make dumb decisions. Stop being a victim. But we have created in our world an entire culture of authorities and victims. And so when you come back and tell someone not to call themselves a victim, that's bullshit. Because you've created an entire culture that basically says, I'm in charge and you are at my mercy. So unless you were somebody who was raised in an environment that let you know you have power and you have choice, which many of us white privileged people were. But furthermore, you throw in things like your ancestors. Who knows what you were handed down from them that lives in you and makes you make different choices. I mean, there's so much to unpack in this that it is mind-boggling, y'all. It is mind-boggling. And so we've created this system. We can take it back to slavery. We can take it back wherever you want to go, where everybody who was not white and from a certain socioeconomical class was basically told that their lives were controlled by them. Your life is controlled by them up there. I don't mean God. I mean white people in power from a certain socioeconomical class. They run the show. And everybody else answers to them. They don't get to decide. They decide. These people decide. We just follow. And then you get mad and call all these people victims when things don't work out for them. And they're like, hey, that didn't work out for me. That didn't work out for me. And they're like, well, hey, just take control of your life, man. Just man up. Just make better decisions. They would love to. But again, the unconscious, deeply ingrained, literal DNA blueprints bump up against their ability to do it. Yes, I think it's both, Melanie. I think that people are doing it unconsciously. And I also think they are victims of societal conditioning. I think it's a both. I think it's a mess, is what I think it is. It's a mess.
I'm just going to interject for a second because the replay does not show the chat. So I just want to read out the question that you're responding to. Melanie had said, curious on your thoughts if people are doing it unconsciously. Are they too not victims of societal conditioning?
Yes.
Sorry.
And so that's the thing is like, guys, when I was running my business, this was completely unconscious. I was up here just thinking I was making a difference in the world, doing great things, helping people have more money, helping people have more time, helping people do all these things. What I didn't realize was that I was feeding into all of this infrastructure and marginalization and oppression. Because there's a certain demographic of people that to say to them, it's funny, Trudy LeBron calls it white people shit. Like she basically says, when I sit here and say, you are in control of your life, she's like, most Black people don't believe that. Most poor people don't believe that. Most people don't believe that. They do not believe that. They've never been told that. They've been told the complete opposite. Over and over again, they've been told the complete opposite. And many of you who may be on kind of that cusp, right? Like the cusp people, I like to call you, you fit in the mold, right? You look like the leaders. You look like the white, luxury, rich, authoritative people. You look like them. And there's not as much anymore to differentiate our classes anymore, is there? Right? It's a little bit more hodgepodgey than it used to be. And so it's harder to see somebody and know exactly where they come from. They can learn. They can learn to talk as long as they look the certain way. And so there's a lot of you who are on this cusp where You believe it. And why do you believe it? Because people who look like you have done it. So you're like, oh, well, that person looks like me. Oh, look, that person came from a middle-class family. Oh, that person did it, so I can do it too. It's called subjective marketing versus objective marketing. Very dangerous when you're in the coaching industry talking personal development. Not that subjective marketing is bad, guys. If you want to go tell your story and work with the people that resonate with you, by all means, great, go do it. The problem is when we bring in phrases like this. If I can do it, you can do it. Anybody's capable of this. I was able to change my life. You can too. Anybody, any human can do it. At the end of the day, at the deepest end of the day, that is true. Any human is capable of anything. If we lived in a world that allowed it. But the current systems in place actually make it extremely hard for certain people to get where they are. Now, let's get real fast. I grew a multi-million-dollar business. I went from a couple $100,000 to a multi-million-dollar business in a couple months. Do you think it had anything to do with the fact that I am pretty and white and I already come from luxury, right? I didn't have to go freaking make the money so I could buy all the purses and the fancy cars and the fancy house to show online. I had it, people. I could already start posting my beautiful life. Oh, look at me, I'm so beautiful. I'm pretty, I'm white. I walk onto the internet, you guys, and I already have authority because I'm pretty, I'm white, and I already come from the right socioeconomical class. And so what do? How do I grow a business with that? Well, I just exploit it, y'all. I just exploit my whiteness, my prettiness, my luxury, my access. And I tell you guys that if I have it, you can have it too. If I did it, you can do it. I'm not going to mention the fact that I had plenty of money in the bank to start this thing off with. So it wasn't hard to invest in coaching and all the systems and get people. Well, I won't mention that part. Right? And it's not that I haven't had hardships. It's not that I haven't been through stuff in life. And so have you guys, right? But there's a difference. I've been told for as long as I've been here that I can do what I want and I'm capable and I'm smart. There's plenty of people that aren't. And as we started to work with more of these people, because I never had any interest in helping people build businesses. What we do is help people clean out their emotional shit so they actually can do this stuff. And what we started to learn more and more, and as we did more and more research on this, is this goes down to the DNA level. So it's interesting because one of the biggest questions I had when all of this stuff was happening with the Black Lives Matter was this question. But Jewish people were practically wiped out and they rose. So why haven't you, Black people? I mean, I was ruthless, guys, on this. I did not want to see it. I was like, no, this is you. You guys are playing the victim card. Everybody who can't make something of their life, you homeless man on the corner, victim card, change your life, right? That's the place we all want to go to. Change your life. You can do this. But something in the back of my head was I just don't think they can though. But I was like, but no, every human's capable. And as we started doing our work more, this is where I really realized there's some serious obstacles up against this. This goes down to the DNA level. How you live your life, how you see the world goes far past your freaking minds and your thoughts. It goes far past that. It goes much deeper into our nervous system and down into our DNA. And so if you're someone in the personal development world not addressing that, you have no business telling people that you are able to change your life, blah, 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 whatever. Now we're seeing some of this. I'm seeing some of these coaches now say this. I don't have the authority to work with people who are in trauma. I don't have the authority to work with people at a certain level. So if you're not here, if you're not here, I'm not for you. So we're seeing this and people are like, oh, look, they're doing it. They're finally talking about this. But the way they're wording it is manipulative, shaming, and shitty. What you should say, and I'll plug another person who I love, Jessica Marks. She works with very limited amount of people, so you can go check her out, but she's very exclusive in who she chooses to work with just because she likes to keep her business small and intimate, but she's an amazing business coach. She says things like this: I need your business to be at this level so that you can actually benefit from the stuff I teach. If that's you, let's talk. She doesn't bring a whole bunch of stuff into things. She's a business coach. I think part of the issue we are having in this personal development world is we're mixing it all together. We're mixing it all together. And so real quick, because I want to go back to the Jewish black thing. Here's the thing. Before the Holocaust, Jews have always been told they're the chosen people, the best people, God's beloved. They get all the keys to the kingdom. They get everything. That's what they believe. That's what they're taught. That's what every scripture says. That's ingrained in their frickin' DNA. And that DNA, guys, it passes. Just like you pass down scoliosis and cancer, you pass down beliefs and emotions. So yes, did the Jewish people go through a really, really horrific, terrible thing that should have never happened? Yeah, they sure did. But you know what was ingrained in their DNA? That they survive, they overcome, they're chosen by God, and they will always prosper. So what did we see? Hardship to quickly prospering. What have our beautiful colored people been told? Maybe since the beginning of time. They're less than, they're not as good, they can't do it, they should work for the man. This even goes back into when you get into tribes in Africa, same thing. It goes by all sorts of stuff. It's been a culture that is very oppressive, that has been told you don't get to rise. It is a very slave. We have used colored people more than any other demographic of people as slaves for the longest. So what has been ingrained into that culture? You don't get to rise up, sit down, shut up, and do what I fucking tell you to do. You don't get to have money. I mean, think about that, guys. An entire demographic of human beings that were not even allowed to make money. It goes to women. Why do you think it's so hard for you damn business owners who are women to make money? Well, we've only been allowed to literally own things and have money for, I don't know, 50 years at best. Don't forget, we were property too. I definitely, if you're white, you get to hold more authority. But damn, if you are a black woman, and so now here comes the next part of the problem. The world dangles in front of all of us this idea that if we aren't rich, beautiful, living in luxury with all the things, we suck. We suck. They were all supposed to be millionaires and billionaires. We're all supposed to have all the fancy things and live these fancy lives. And it is pumped into our face hard. It is marketed to us hard that this is what we should want. And this was the hugest aha moment for me, because I've always come from having plenty and living. And I always thought, well, of course, I just want more and more and more and more. Isn't that the dream? Isn't that the American dream? Isn't that the world dream? To be like the Kardashians, where we have jets and all the things and everything? Yes. And you know what, guys? I had it all and more. And I was like, I don't actually want this. Whoops. And so then I was even more confused, because here I am, Black Lives Matter happening. Here I am buying everything I've ever wanted, going on every vacation I've ever wanted. And I'm like, I don't think I want all of this. I'm really confused right now. I'm really confused. So we're being sold the story that more is better, that we have to keep going. We've also been sold this story that our worth and who we are is tied into our success and money. I will literally quote somebody. Success and wealth is a byproduct of the people we become. That's a direct quote from a response from all that's been happening. I saw another one from someone else that said something along the lines of, if you don't have success and money, look at the person you are and stop being the victim. Oh, okay. And then both of these women went on to explain how they feel as though they should not be treating people with trauma anymore. And that now they're honing in on who they will be working with. And if you don't feel like you should buy from them, then don't. Listen to your heart. But you know what? Hype marketing. Hype marketing doesn't let you think, guys. You know what we used to do when we would do sales? We would hype you all up so much. You wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know what the fuck was going on. We would get you so excited. And everybody would get so into the hype. They were telling you, oh my God. And they would be like, and if you don't buy it by Tuesday at 4:00, you're going to lose everything and your life will be over. Go. And so you're in so much hype, you don't even know. Now, I will say we did not do it as bad as a lot of people do it. Like, we were like hype light, because I knew from a science perspective. Remember, guys, don't forget, I'm a nice little science nerd here with my biomedical science and neurophysiology background. I know what's happening here. There was a book written years ago called How to Create a Habit-Forming Product. And this book was sold, I don't know, 100 million copies. Like, the guy who wrote it actually said he wished he never would have wrote it now that he's seen what it's done to the world. But basically, he broke down the science of how to hijack a person's brain. Dopamine. Dopamine. So here's all of our friends out in the world saying, personal responsibility, personal responsibility. But then they're hijacking your brain. It's kind of like saying to the man on the corner who's addicted to heroin, dude, just fucking get off heroin. It's not that hard. And then walking away. Yeah, you know what? It's real fucking hard to get off of heroin. Like, real hard, even with treatment. Because it does a whole physiological thing to your brain. You can have all the willpower in the world, you guys. If you are someone who's a heroin addict and someone hands you heroin, you're gonna do it. And you know what? It's not about being a victim, and it's not about personal responsibility. It's the fact that your body is literally addicted to something and it is overriding everything else. And that is what has happened in the personal development world. First and foremost, there's this creation of what you actually want, and that you're not good enough if you don't have it. So now we have all this wounding. I'm not good enough until I have all of this. And so then the language preys on that with words like success and wealth is a byproduct of the person you become. Oh shit, I don't have success and wealth. I must be a shit person. Okay, better do something about it. Because guys, what do we all want as humans? To be loved, to be seen, to be heard, to be enough. And so here they are. Oh, you're not enough unless you have what I got. And guess what? I can show you how to do it. Come join my free class. Okay, great. They're going to tell me all the things. So they bring you in and you like them because they're pretty and they have the luxury and they have everything you're told to want. They have the authority instantly. Instantly, they had that authority. Why? Well, because there's been hundreds and hundreds of years of that bombarded onto your cells. Saying when someone like Melissa, who's gorgeous and beautiful, shows up with a beautiful house like that she knows something. We should listen to her. Doesn't matter if she's going to tell you bullshit or not. Your brain has already gone, something that I know. And she's already targeted the fact that you're not good enough, but she is. And she has everything you want. Might be in between the lines, but it's there, baby. I have what you want, and I can show you how to get it. I worked with a coach, like right when I was getting into the coaching industry. I won't say her name. And this woman is probably one of the most deceitful, dishonest, deceitful, dishonest are not even it. She is probably one of the people who does all of this the most, but she actually is just like completely fucking honest about it. Like I remember working with her and she's like, integrity, fuck it, throw it out the door. Who cares? We make money here. I say what I need to say to make fucking money. I say what people want. I make money. And honestly, I give her more credit than all the other bitches out there. Because she at least knew exactly what she was doing. She owned up to exactly what she was doing. And she basically said, if you don't like what I'm doing, don't come freaking work with me. But this is what I'm doing and this is what I teach. And to me, you know what? Like, fine. If you want to be that person that does shit marketing, fine. And praise on people and go, fine. The problem lies in these people who are in the middle. These people who are saying they're doing good in the world, and they're not seeing what they're actually doing, which is hijacking people's brains and making all this money for their own good. That very few people are actually getting the results they claim they're going to get, or getting the results they're getting. And that's probably the thing. If you're going to subjectively market, meaning you're marketing and saying, if you're like me, you can get the results like me, but very, very few people are getting the results like you, we have a problem. And that's what I began to see in our business. This was when I really was like, hold the phone, something's not right here. Because although we were getting results in the terms of the emotional work we do, right? People were learning to love themselves more. People were learning to, feel better. They were healing their bodies, all these things. None of them were making money like me. And it was like, wait, why? Wait, everybody's capable of this. Guys, there's so much that goes in to the money factor of things. So much that goes into the money factor of things. Have you ever learned something about money and then you look at the world and you're like, but God damn it, that person over there completely breaks that thought I just had because they're grouchy and mean and the most negative human I've ever met, but they're like a billionaire. Huh? How did they get past all the energy? what I learned, and I did a little mastermind on money a few months ago, and like the main concept of was like, there like aren't rules around money. Like there aren't, like, it's so personalized that really, it's really, really hard for anybody to teach you based on their personal experience with money. They can share what they've learned, but to say things like success and wealth is a byproduct of the people we become, is it? Because there's some really shitty people out there that are really successful and wealthy. So like, yeah, Claire, I'm the happiest, but I have no money. Like, this is working, but like I have no money. So the whole money piece, guys, is much deeper. And the problem is this, that there are literal systems in place that keep the majority of people from being able to make money. That's the truth. That's the truth. It's not all about energy. You can clear all your motherfucking blocks. You can do it till the damn cows come home. But if you happen to be a colored woman, the uphill battle to actually do it, to become a millionaire, is going to be trillions of times harder than a man, a white man. Now, is it possible? Hell yeah, it's possible. I mean, check out Oprah. But like, give me 10 more rich Black women that came from the ghetto. I'll wait. And that's where the unconscious bias comes in. And that's the thing that is not being addressed in these conversations. That is the thing that is not being talked about in these conversations. And as long as we continue to make it about money, we're feeding into this. Because I'm going to be honest with you, and I know many of you can confirm this in your own businesses. When I started talking about money and how I could teach you how to make it, boy, did things take off in my business. And I guarantee you there's a bunch of you that can say that too. And I watch it all the time in the online space. People start talking about money. I made this, I did this, and all of a sudden, whoop. And that coach that I worked with, the one who I was like, just like says it like it is, she was the one that told me, start talking about money. And I said, that doesn't feel good to me. I don't feel like that's an integrity. And she said, fuck integrity, throw it out the window. Do you want to make money? And I was like, yeah, I do. And she's like, then you need to start talking about money if you want to make it in the online world. And this was a woman who had made 8 figures and who had made a lot of people a lot of money behind the scenes. And I was in those masterminds with all the big names, like the big names, like far past the Amanda Francises and the Melanie Ann Layers of the world, like the big names, the Frank Kerns and all of those of the world. And those guys, all those white men, the Grant Cardones of the world, you guys, they're all behind the scenes. They're talking straight about this. They know exactly what they're doing. The Billie Jeans, they know exactly what they're doing. They're sitting down and talking about this. What words, what things can we use that target this in a person that pull them in? What price point can we get to that's going to hijack their brain even faster? These conversations are straight up on the table. They're not hiding it. The men are not hiding it. They're not hiding it one bit. The women over here, like I said, doing the same dance, different dress, and trying to pretend like our dress doesn't have vomit all over it. It does. The coaching industry is over here trying to pretend we are doing something different when we're doing the same fucking thing that the world has been doing to all of us for a long ass time. Hijacking our brains, creating a beautiful picture of what we think we want, and then selling in a way that keeps the majority of us indebted and in a dopamine hijack trying to get our next fix while a few get rich. Gross, right? And they say, oh, let us know this knowledge of how to hijack the brain, but it's for a good cause because our products. And you know, it's funny you say that, Micah, because I had a moment for a while where Melissa and I were like, well, we have good products. So like, if you can't beat them, join them. Like join them, right? We have a freaking good product, guys. We have something that people like need so bad. And so we were like, well, hell, if this is how we get them in, then this is how we get them in, right? And then one day, I just couldn't do it anymore, you guys. I just couldn't do it anymore because I know that in me doing that, I'm just feeding into the system. You know, I read somewhere the other day where somebody said, if you don't play the game, you're just going to get played. And I started thinking about Monopoly with my family. I hate playing Monopoly with my family. They're like vultures and crazy and everybody fights. I remember the first time my husband was like, I'm going to play Monopoly with your family. I want to play. And I was like, don't do it. And he was like, how bad could it be? And then like the next morning, like, I think he was like in like post-traumatic, like shock. Like he was like, that was so bad. And I was like, I told you, I don't know why you did it. So, right. I can say right there, well, hell, you're like, got to play the game. Well, what if everybody stops playing the game? Because you know what happens now? Everyone's like, let's play Monopoly. And everyone's like, I don't want to play Monopoly. So the game ceases to exist. If we all stop playing the fucking game, the game stops. Now, the 10 people on top don't want the game to stop. So yes, they're going to tell you, well, shit, you better just play the game. Don't let those people make a victim out of you. They make you think you're crazy when you want to revolt against this. Why? Well, because they don't want the game to end, you guys. You look at some of these things, make sure, can you speak more of that? Like, do you really feel like that's fine if you want to use that kind of marketing? I struggle with that, even though I totally get what you're saying, but I don't feel like it makes it any cleaner. No, I don't think it's fine to do that. Like, I give her credit in the sense that she just isn't hiding it. But at the end of the day, there are things happening in the world that we shouldn't keep doing. Like, we shouldn't keep doing them. Right? Like, we can play the whole spiritual bypassing game and be like, there's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. Everything just is. And everything comes into your life to help you and grow you and evolve you. And so if it's coming into your life and it's bad, it's not really bad because it's here to help you. Okay, great. One of my children was molested. That's a true story. Did I grow and learn and evolve from it? Fuck yeah, I did. Did it change my fucking life? Fuck yeah, it did. Do I still think people should stop molesting children? Yeah, I do. There are bajillions of ways we can learn and grow and transform in this life. It doesn't have to be through a mind fuck of manipulation and dopamine hijacking for us to learn and grow. The universe will take care of our growth, y'all, if those things are not there. There will be other things. Yes, grasping at straws to keep people playing the game. Grasping at straws to keep people playing the game. Because, yes, everything in this world happens for a reason, to help grow us, to evolve us. But at the end of the day, I think there are some things that as humans, we're ready to be done with. Having my brain hijacked? Yes. Sexual abuse and molesting of children? Yes. Wars and constant violence? Yes. Maybe they're still here because we're cleaning stuff out and evolving. Great. But at the end of the day, I think it's time for us to move past them. And I think it's time for us to move past this whole culture of marginalization and oppression and bullshit of how we run our world. So that kind of brings me to, what do we do here? Because at first I was like, what do I do? Okay, I'll just like talk nice about everything. Hi, everybody. This is what I do. If you'd like to buy it, please buy it. And you know what, y'all? Well, it didn't work. Because at the end of the day, we're still in this world where people's brains are hijacked and this. And so it's like, we have to be the bridge. I don't want to play the game so I don't get played. But I got to be a bridge in a way so that these people over here can come over to my land over here. And it's been a motherfucking journey, guys. And I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it's been fun. It's been very interesting and informative. But it has been, and I don't use this word almost ever, it's been hard. It has been hard to try and figure this out, to know that we have a fantastic product. And I know a lot of you are sitting here right now because you have fantastic products, you have fantastic things, and you're sitting in freeze mode being like, because I don't want to hurt people. And I can't tell you how much. So the first thing I want to say, you guys, is the first thing that we have to do is we really, really have to get real and raw with ourselves, and we have to feel what's underneath this. I had to feel all of it. And if you don't know how to feel your emotions, Hey You Human, it's kind of our MO. You can go into our free app, Hey You Human. You can take our free course and it will show you how we do it. You don't even need to pay us. If you want to pay us, you can. We love people in our membership too, but it's all available for you for free. And that is because we have made the shift to be an exclusive company. And when we have information that's for all, we want to make it accessible for all. Everything you actually need to do it. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be a company like mine. I do think exclusivity can exist. And there will be some of you that say, hell, I only want to work like Jessica Marks, who I love. She's like, look, I only work with people who are in business at a certain level. And she does. And she's great at it. But what she doesn't do is paint a picture that everybody should have this. And this is who everybody should become. And if you don't have this, you're missing out. Just do that. Like, if you want to be an exclusive person, the problem with all of this, and this goes to the luxury brands, this goes to the Chanels and all of them of the world. They're all painting this picture that if you don't have these things, there's something wrong with you. And so when we do that, and then we add in the exclusivity, well, then we're just assholes, you guys. Like, we're just assholes. I mean, really? Like, that's just mean. Ooh, I have something the whole world needs, and you hear it. I have these codes, and the whole world needs them. You will never, ever be wealth activated without them. And now you can get them on sale for $1,700. Do you know how many people, quite honestly, have $1,700 to spend on anything? Like, not many at all. Like, not many of us at all. And so we realize that we have something that is literally for the world. That is something everybody can use, everybody needs. And so we're trying to figure out, how does that work in a business? How does that work in a business where we have something everybody needs, but obviously we still need to make money because I got to pay people. We got to keep the infrastructure going. I am actually pretty positive. I'm actually not even gonna say I'm pretty positive. I'm positive that as we begin to figure this out and crack this, that we're gonna make more money and make it easier than any of them out there. As we open this up to people and we allow people to have access. And then, instead of buying 14 houses with all of the money, which there's nothing wrong with that, let's go use it to deal with all the shit problems we have going on. All you guys who have ideas and companies that can't go anywhere because there's this infrastructure that keeps everybody down because like the 10 people who own everything won't let them get out. Well, hell, when you have billions behind you, you can do all sorts of stuff. We become like our own little investment firm. And we change the course of this. And so it starts first with us. It starts with us, you guys. This problem is not going to be changed by the marginalized and oppressed people of the world. They're marginalized and oppressed. We can't have revolutions anymore. It just doesn't work. It's going to be changed by those of us sitting right here. Those of us who actually have means. It's the Dalai Lama said it years ago. It's going to be changed by white privileged women of the world. He called it. Because we have means, we have immediate authority, even though we're women, we're getting there. And a lot of us have started to see this. And we can't ignore it. Like it brings tears to my eyes. Like we cannot ignore it. And I'm not discounting the men here because I think there's plenty of men in my world and plenty of beautiful men I've come across too that are like, I am here for this. We are the people that are going to change it. The people who have means and privilege and have seen this and can't unsee it. And it first starts with us deciding where our money goes. And this is a not fun thing too, you guys, because I've loved a lot of brands that now I'm like, God damn it, you're doing the hype marketing. You're making people think they're shitty without it. You're doing shitty things to the world and people. You're harming. And so it starts there. And being the voices, starting to talk about this. This is why I didn't want to talk about this, you guys. I don't want to talk about this. This is confusing and heavy and all sorts of shit. I mean, it's hard to even put into a nice little package and hand to you guys. But we have to start talking about this. We can't keep sitting back down when they point the finger at us and say radical responsibility. Yes, we all take radical responsibility. That email that came from that woman was beautiful. She said, I take radical responsibility. I did buy all those courses. I did all do this, but something still just felt off. Like something was happening that I couldn't put my finger on. Yeah, because it was. There's this whole behind the scenes machine playing at you that's grabbing you and targeting you. And then the next piece of this is how do we create businesses that aren't doing this? And I'm going to tell you guys this. It's scary to be the front runner in this. And for those of you who are ready to do this, you are going to see dips in your income. We did. It took us a moment to figure it out. We're still figuring out how to do this. But I'm going to tell you this. We are the future. And when all of this falls, because it will, and we're starting to see it more than ever, and I'm not just talking about the coaching industry, I'm talking across the board. We're going to be there and we're going to be ready. So Melissa's going to talk more about this because she's the one who handles a lot of the company, a lot of the behind the scenes and all of the marketing stuff and everything like that, so that you can kind of hear firsthand like some of our failures, because there have been failures, some of our successes, what we're doing, how we're kind of shifting things and all of that. What did Aaron say? This game is normalizing corporate. So all the marketing BS that we pick up inside the coaching industry actually feels normal. It does. It, like I said, it's ingrained. It's ingrained, big deal. I've always believed in the woman run the economy idea, that I've had the privilege to have Black women millionaire coaches in my life. They still do the hype marketing, but it's kept me grounded. And they do. And that's the thing, but it's the same dance, different dress, guys. That's the problem. Like, we can say all we want all day long that women are going to change it, but not if we're doing it the same way that's been done. All we're doing is just repeating history. And that's what we tend to do as humans. But I think we can do better. So how do you present yourself instead of a coach? What do you call yourself? So we call ourselves human developers. We've created an entirely new industry called human development, mainly because it's not centered around making money, doing all that. It's centered around figuring out who you are as a human and having your best life and creating opportunities for you and for other people who don't have them. It's not about hype. It's not about luxury. It's not about money. It's that. And, you know, Oprah sure does know how to hype other people up. Oh, they all do. They all do. And luxury and stuff, you guys, like, have luxury, do it all, but don't capitalize on it. I don't know if you've noticed, but like, I don't post all the things I buy anymore. I don't do all of that because I don't want people to see that and think, oh, I want what she has. How do I do it? I want you to figure out, what do you want? And so I share me, but in a very different way. And that's what we have to start doing. Because otherwise we're just feeding the dragon, and he's not a good dragon. There's good dragons and they're not good dragons. He's a dragon that blows fire on all of us and we burn up in flames. Want that dragon, don't feed him. Okay, so Melissa's going to talk more on this, and then we'll open it up for some questions.
So I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to talk about this. And like Sara, I'm going to be very, very real, open, and honest about the ride that has been the last almost 2 years, about a year and a half. My name is Melissa. I'm the CEO of Hey You Human. And like Sara mentioned, I have been a part of Hey You Human for almost 3 years. And when I joined at the time, it was Sara Longoria Coaching. It was right before our big boom. And a lot of my role and responsibility at that point in time was to just make the business easier. A lot of automation, a lot of back end, a lot of like rinse and repeat of what we did to convert people at the end of the day, to make money. And when Sara originally started really like waking up to everything that was going on, it really changed how we ran our business. And like Sara mentioned, there was a lot of learning that needed to get done. And there is still a lot of learning. And the biggest thing we had to keep asking ourselves and unlearning is, there is a way in which the coaching industry is run. There is a way in which you run your business in the coaching space. You know, you have your free event that's all cute and branded with, you know, really cute names and all this effort that goes into lead generation. There's all these rules, I would say, on how a coach shows up online to bring people into their world, to have them know, like, and trust you, so that you can basically get them into a virtual group to sell to them. And it was everything. The amount of unlearning that went into really dissecting our business when we moved from Sara Longoria Coaching to Hey You Human, there are still times that we have to ask ourselves, like, wait a minute, is this something that the coaching industry does that we just think is like normal? But like nobody in the rest of the world operates this way. And we ask ourselves this question all the time, even still. And so it was little things. It was little things like the pop-up Facebook group. You know, every time you do a live, it was all the effort that went into your branding and email sequences and your offer and your upsells and all of these things that, you know, we could easily pinpoint where people were really ick in their marketing. But when we decided we didn't want to be a part of the coaching industry, we had a whole unlearning that we had to do. And we really had to start asking ourselves, like, okay, I know that the coaching industry is, you know, feels really big. And I would always say to Sara, you're a big fish in a small pond. And now that we're not in the coaching industry, we're small fish right now. We want to be big fish, but we're small fish in a big pond. And we really had a lot of swimming around to do to really get the lay of the land. And we're still trying to find like what feels really good for us and what feels really good for our customers, because the reality is that everything that Sara said about hype marketing and how we sell to people and how we I think exploit weaknesses in humanity. The reality is that's also how many consumers expect to be treated. Whether or not they want to be treated that way, that is what they are used to. And so when we first started making changes in our business, people weren't really buying because there was just really no incentive. There was no desire. We stripped away everything. We stripped away everything. We stripped away deadlines. We stripped away sales. We stripped away launches. Like overall, we stripped away email sequences. We stripped everything out of fear of not being in integrity with who we wanted to be in our business. So we knew we didn't want to be in the coaching space. And so we went, everything around marketing is gross. It's disgusting. We are not doing any of it. And no one bought. Surprise, surprise. No one found us. Nobody knew the value. Nobody was incentivized to take the leap, because the marketing world has done such a good job of hijacking our brain, and especially in the coaching industry where we're so guided by our intuition, right? Our heart, our soul. And I don't mean to mock, but you all know what I mean, where it's like, trust your gut. Well, when your dopamine isn't telling you must buy now, you think that your gut is telling you don't buy, because your gut is just, it's not your gut. It's your whole body that's like overtaken by dopamine. And so when we weren't having that experience, but we were still kind of saying, if this feels right, if you resonate with what we're saying, come join us. People really weren't buying. And we were really stuck. I'll be totally honest. We were really stuck. We were really, really stuck. We didn't want to do ads. We didn't want to do live launches. We didn't want to, we didn't want to do dopamine marketing. There were so many things that we were just like, no, we don't want to do that. But at the end of the day, we are a business. We are not a not-for-profit, and even not-for-profits have to learn how to make money. We are a business. And we really, the pendulum really went from one side to the other. We were sitting so far on the one side of hype marketing and just like, like hyping people up and really like giving them not even giving people the freedom of choice to make a decision. It was just boom, go. And then it was like herding cattle. We're like, get them in, get them in, get them in. And I mean, I agree with Sara. We were never as bad as a lot of the other industries. We definitely, or a lot of the other people in the industry, I guess I should say, we really always maintained that we wanted people to come in and feel very seen, very heard, feel like they got value. But when it came to like the goals and the objectives of the business, it was very centered around money and monetary goals. We wanted people to obviously feel good in what they were buying. We wanted people to see transformations, of course. But our goal, when we sat and talked around about our goals, it was always monetarily driven. And I want to set the stage, because then we were like, fuck money. Money is not the point. We take care of humanity and the money will follow. Crickets, 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 crickets. And then we were like, oh shit. If we don't have money, how do we carry out our goal to help humanity? How do we create jobs? How do we become a big fish in a big pond if we're just struggling to find oxygen? It was hard. It was really hard. And what happened was we let all of our emotion and all of our, and I say emotion because it was a very emotionally driven decision for a long time, was we had all this hurt, all this ick that we saw in the industry. And we did not want to be associated with that in any way, shape, or form. And so we did the exact opposite. And the pendulum went way the other way, and not to the betterment of anybody or anything, because we couldn't change people's lives. We couldn't have people come into our world that we knew we really could make a difference, because we weren't talking to them anymore. We weren't meeting people where they were at. And we had a really, really hard time trying to dismantle, okay, do we not want to do this because it doesn't feel good? Do we not want to do this because we know that it's not in the best interest of our clients? Or do we not want to do this because we just don't want to be like them? And those are very different questions to ask. We wanted to make sure that we were in integrity. We wanted to make sure that our work was available for people. But then we started running our business, quite frankly, in fear and out of almost a form of trauma response of like, I don't want to be like that person. I don't want to manipulate people. And so we really had to play around with, how do we talk to people? At the end of the day, we still need to market. We can't just be like hanging out in our own Hey You Human community, praying to God that people will find us and decide that they instantly know and understand our value, because people's time is so important. Like everybody's retention span is so small that we need hooks. We need something that's going to, have people come and learn more about who Hey You Human is and decide whether or not Hey You Human is for them. And at the end of the day, we're in business to do business. If we're not in business. We could be a not-for-profit, but that's not how we want to run our business. We are a for-profit business. Thank you. Which, turtle delivery, how great. We are a for-profit business, which means that we need to be aware of our profit. It's not profit above all else, but we need to be aware of our profitability. We need to be aware of where our money is going. We need to be aware of our customer retention. We need to run our business like a business. And I feel in so many ways the coaching industry has dismantled our business acumen because it has been so centered on energetic healing and our gifts and show up for the world that we forget that we have a business to run. We have a fiduciary responsibility. If we made decisions in Hey You Human and we were no longer profitable and we closed our doors, our certification would be gone. Our membership would be gone. Our support would be gone. We would be leaving people in the lurch. And that is absolutely not what we want when people come into our world. We needed to shift how we looked at our business, and we needed to kind of put our big girl pants on and step up. And trying to figure out how to step out without stepping on was a very interesting process. We had a lot of emotional work to do. I cannot count the number of conversations Sara and I have had over the year and a half that had tears, that had anger, that had frustration, that had arguments, like many, many arguments, not bad arguments, but difference of opinions, different call outs towards each other, me to her, her to me, telling each other to take an adult timeout, get to the bottom of your emotions so you can see this business clearly. Because at the end of the day, when we're sitting, we were still sitting in victim mode, trying to be leaders, but we were still sitting in victim mode. We were still running the business out of victimhood, out of, we don't want to do this to people. We don't want to do X, Y, and Z to our people, so we'll do nothing. But that doesn't do anything for our business. And that's, I remember when Sara, we've had the pendulum swing quite a few times where, we were for the world, we were for humanity. F it, we're only for a certain group of people, or, okay, we're going to hype market. We're going to do a deadline. We're going to have a, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 month launch. you know what, honestly, I don't care. We'll sell it for pennies on the dollars. This is just for everybody. And somewhere in the middle is where we needed to be in order to make sure that our business, the business itself, was still sustainable. Because this isn't, and I don't believe, Hey You Human is meant to just be, me and Sara sitting in a corner somewhere, just trying to get this thing off the ground. We're just doing our best, not being like them. We really want to make a difference. We want to make an impact. But the reality is that we need to pick and choose certain things about the marketing industry so that we can be the bridge. If we sit there and we've done this, we sat there and we stopped doing deadlines, we stopped doing bonuses about a year. I think that was one of the first things we got rid of was bonuses and limited time offers. We got rid of them. But the reality is that people sit in indecision until they're given a reason to jump. And for a long time, we were like, no, we're just going to change the energy of our business. Nope. No, that is the energy that we're holding. We're holding that expectation of people. I would say to Sara, we need something. Like, I'm not saying we've never been like, this deal will never be seen again. We've never been like, doors are closing. We've never lied. But I remember saying to Sara, like, we need something. We need something for people to jump. Otherwise, they're just sitting around waiting. I said, we don't need to do it unethically, but we need something because we have all these people, they show up, they want to be here, but we need to give them a reason to jump, to take action. And we can sit and change all the energy we want in our business. But the reality is that until we're a big fish in a big pond, until our name can stand on its own, until we have enough people spreading the word, we need people to come in to spread the word. And so it was really hard. I would sit and Sara would be like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Like, no, I don't want to give people deadlines. I don't want, and I was like, I know, I don't either, but people aren't buying. People are showing up. People are replying to our emails. People are engaging with us, but they're not buying. And every single time we would do like, some of you might have been around for this, but we sold all of our old Sara Longoria Coaching, all of our old stuff. We were like, we're done. Bye-bye. We'll give it one last haul. And we're like, I don't know, we'll give them to whatever the date was, October 31st, or I don't remember what the date was specifically, and after that, the sale's done. And
sure enough, that deadline worked. It's real good.
We were watching, and Sara was like, are people buying? And I was like, no, just wait, right? Give it the last 24 hours. And sure enough, like, you wake up in the morning and it's like, boo, everyone's surging right at the last second. And I said, we have to pay attention to buyer behavior as well. And we need to do it in a way that we're not hijacking people and we're not overstimulating them and we're not lying to them like Billie Jean King. His business is always going out of business every single month on an evergreen ad. Like, that's ick. That is ick. That's lying. It's deceitful, but we need to figure out a way to meet our people where they are at so that we can bring them over, so that they can experience empowerment in a completely different light. But as long as we're sitting around being like, no, we're not going to be like them. We're not going to be like them. We're not going to be like them. Not going to be like them. We're just sitting around, not building our army of change in any way, shape, or form. We're just sitting here like pissed off at what everyone else is doing and saying, we're going to do it differently, but no one can hear us because no one can see us, because no one can find us, because we're not marketing to people. And we sat, gosh, Sara, like, how long did we sit? I would say it was like 6 or 8 months of really not actively growing our business, actively marketing our business or doing things in our business. And out of I would say stubbornness in some respect.
Stubbornness and fear. And let me just say one thing about this, because again, and this is a good example of what we've switched. I do want to speak to the fact, because a lot of you might be thinking, oh, good, like I can sit there for 8 months and figure it out. the only reason we were able to really do that, guys, keep in mind, is we had already built a multi-million-dollar business with customers and audiences and people who loved us and referred us and spoke about us. And so we already had a business that was thriving and moving and working and going. And so we were able to live off of that for a bit. And I will also preface it, there were months where we needed money and I happened to have access to plenty of money. And so I was able to put money back into the company on those months when we needed it. So I really want to be fully transparent with you on this, because I think a lot of people aren't fully transparent with this, and it makes people think like, you know, oh, well, I can just sit here in my business and I'll be able to figure it out eventually. Like, we already did have a business. And so it has made it easier for us because we've already had people and, you know, the ability, but we're working to figure it out so that we can share it more with you guys who are in the beginning and wanting to know how to do this, you know, in a way to get your businesses up and going.
Yeah, that's a really important point. And that's another really important point in terms of the marketing that's going on out there, is that a lot of marketing isn't giving you, the people, the full story. And so, you know, I feel that we've always been very, very transparent, as Sarah's just so beautifully demonstrated. We've always been very transparent on like the realness of who we are, our experience, how we got where we are. But there's a lot of marketing going on where you're just getting, you know, the perfect vantage point of their business. And, you know, they'll say things like, you know, the rags to riches, I was broke, I grew up from nothing, so did you, but you don't see the full story. I've been inside of a couple of very large businesses and I see how they market, and I'm like, okay, well, technically that's correct, but that's not how you've previously displayed information, and your consumers are used to receiving things in one light. And now technically if somebody pushed you on it, you're being honest, but not really. Like, not really. You know, I'll see a lot of coaches that they'll say, in my 2 years in business as, you know, my Melissa Meller coaching, and they've completely discounted the 10 years of struggles, of failed businesses, of all of the things. And so they make it look like success happened overnight. And that's not how business is. One of the things that Sarah and I have really, really shifted in the business was we stopped. Well, one of the biggest things is we're a company, we're a corporation. This isn't me and Sarah. This is the company, and that holds a lot of power. It's its own entity. And one of the very first things that we changed when we left actually before we publicly, I would say, left the coaching industry, is when we stopped talking about money. And not just money in terms of like, let me teach you how to make money. We stopped talking about, oh my God, last month in Hey You Human, we made $500,000 and we welcomed in 15 new people. Can you imagine if like ExxonMobil every month celebrated the profitability of their company? There might be a bit of backlash from that. Or like if Starbucks came out and they put on their Instagram, like, thank you so much. We've served 1 million cups of coffee. And from that, we generated $10 million. Would you guys all not be like, what the fuck? How is that even a relative part of your business? Like, I'm so confused. But that's okay in the coaching industry. Like I remember when Sarah and I were boxering about this, and I was like, oh my God, like this was an unlearning of the coaching industry. Like, why would anybody think it's okay to broadcast that? Yeah, Astrid, I did not do the math in exam. I did not do the math in advance, okay? But you get my point. Oh my gosh.
And again, guys, this is what feeds in to this idea that it's kind of like the money fixes everything mentality, which is very much perpetuated by our world. This idea that once you have money and luxury and all of these things, like life is good. And that's what the online industry pumps out to you. They don't talk about all the hardships that are actually happening in their lives and all the issues that are coming up because, well, money fixes everything. And so look, I have all this money now, everything's good. You should want it too.
Yeah. And
it just creates this continual illusion that money should always be the goal when it shouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we had the money should be the goal mentality, I mean, it worked. It worked. It worked. When we talked about money, when we painted the money experience for people, it worked. And then it was like we needed a cold shower. We're done talking about money. And I remember somebody saying to us, like, well, just go back, like, if you need a cash infusion, like, just go back and talk about money for a sec. And it's like, no. And it's so easy. Yes, Claire, sex and money sells. And that's part of the problem. That's what we're seeing in the industry right now is people are just over the sex sells and the money sells. It's just like, it's gross, but it also works. And it's really, really hard. It's really hard to be different when you know that there's a thirst trap with sex and money. And we created Hey You Human out of the desire to have a brand that wasn't centered around Sara Longoria. It wasn't the Sara Show, so that I would have a stage so that Ember and Jill and our other certified people could have a stage to stand on to give their gifts to the world so that we can serve many different types of ethnicities and backgrounds and stories with integrity. Because we can say all we want about black women and the struggle that they have. Sorry, it's just not going to carry the same weight when a white privileged woman is talking about it. Period. End of story. Like, it's not. We want to be able to partner with people so that they have a stage, so that their story, their voice can be seen. And the only way to do that is to get out of the sex and the money and the this and the that. And it can be a hard road. And there has been a lot of emotional dismantling around fear of failure, around making the wrong decisions. If we would have done this, what would have that been like? There has been a lot of unraveling around this isn't working. Sara, how many conversations have you? And I'll be like, okay, we've been doing it for 2 weeks now, not even. We haven't even given it a chance to work. And she'll be like, oh, yeah.
I've had to learn patience through this. This has been a great learning experience for me.
I don't do this anymore. I've been doing this for 4 years. No, we've only been doing this for like, but I've personally been doing this. You know, we've had a lot of emotions, a lot of unravelings, a lot of unlearning, a lot of starting from square one. Even though we're carrying the emotions of doing it over and over and over and over again. It has been an emotional experience. And when I say emotional, I mean like an emotionally educational process, because we've had to learn a lot about who we are and how to sell to people in a way that feels really good to us. And in order for us to learn that, we needed to have radical responsibility in our business, the buzzword, but radical responsibility in our business. This is something that this is one of our like 4 core values. And we stand behind this. And I think when it comes to radical responsibility in business, not a lot of people can walk the talk the way Hey You Human can. And the way Sara can, to be honest, because Sara really does lead this at the highest level. But when we talk about radical responsibility, we talk about it. Actually, I shouldn't say we talk about it. We hear what's going on and we listen. I think a lot of what's going on in the industry is a lot of people listen to defend. They listen to defend themselves and the decisions that they've made. And we listen to try and figure out how can we be better. Not to say we haven't made mistakes, not to say that we haven't made decisions that we're like, ugh, but we want to truly be better. And when we were living in fear and stubbornness, we weren't making any decisions in our business, any decisions. And it was hard because then it was, well, we're doing all the things that we're supposed to be doing and we're not getting anywhere. And that's when we needed to start looking at our business as its own entity, and that we are stewards of our business. We are stewards of the business, and that the business has goals and objectives. And it is to help people. But the only way that we can help people is to have a profitable, healthy company, not at the expense of other people, not charging millions of dollars for our containers, but through reaching the masses. And the only way we can reach the masses is if we can connect with people. And we've really had to, it was a dance. It's really been a dance of like, okay, well, this worked in the past. Let's try this again. No, that's not working. Well, let's try this live launch, but we're not going to do this, this, and this. Well, nothing I do is working. Nothing I do. I'm tired of doing it this way. Okay, then let's not do this. I'm tired of this. There's been a lot of trial and error. And I want to remind you guys, in business, this is normal. This is a normal part of business. If you wake up tomorrow, create a logo, and make $1 million, even if that's true, which I'm going to call BS, but even if that's true, that is not the normal experience. That is what is being marketed to you. There are businesses out there that take years to get going. That is normal. You are not less than because it took a hot second. The other normal thing that Sara and I had to be like, oh, right, is that business is not a constant uphill trajectory. What? Every month, I'm not compounding my income and making more and more and more and more and more and more and more. Oop, there's a dip. Let's dissect. What's wrong with that? What do you need to
No, not even what's wrong with that. What's wrong with me?
you?
Because that's where we have a real issue happening in this world, is that if there's a blip in my business, if there's a blip in my money, what's wrong with me? You guys, your business and your money are not you. There is you, and then there is your money, and there is your business. And they're all different, and they operate different. And that's why there are shit ass people who have huge businesses and lots of money. And there's really good people who don't have thriving businesses or lots of money. They're separate from you. Yes. Is there stuff that needs to be healed often?
Of course.
Limits that we put around ourselves that add into how we relate to money and how we relate to business? Yes. But it's not a hard truth that what your money and business do means anything about you. And that was a huge learning experience I had to go through, was understanding that after being in this world and perpetuating this for myself and my own work, that, yeah, you know what? Sometimes that is true. Sometimes it is a big old money block that you got to get out of the way that does that. And sometimes it's the motherfucking economy. Or something that's happening in your marketing, or something that's happening in the business. There's a lot of different reasons or things that go into this. And we have to come back to remembering that. Otherwise, it is detrimental to our mental health when we make everything that's happening in the world, in our money, and in our business about us. There's us, there's the collective, there's our money, there's a whole bunch of different things. And we have to remember that they all have their own places. They do intertwine in certain places, but it's not mutually exclusive.
Yeah. And it can feel like that when you're a solopreneur, when you are your business, it can feel like that. But remember that the work, I always say, like, you don't put on a different work human. You don't put on a different home human. You are the same person. And business does bring up a ton of emotions. And I feel really fortunate with Hey You Human. We have we're centered on emotional healing. So, a Venn diagram, Cassie, yes, they're like those small graphs with the overlaps in the middle. There's, oh, now I lost my train of thought. My classic like get distracted. Your business is going to bring up emotions, and a part of being a person that has radical responsibility of themselves is to look at those emotions. But then there's radical responsibility in your business, which is looking at your business, your practices, what people are saying, hearing them and honoring those experiences, and being emotionally mature. And I mean that in terms of emotionally clean, so that you're not responding out of hurt, anger, my self-worth, all the things, emotionally mature enough to hear them and to understand how you can pivot in your business. Now, the trick is that sometimes people are truly pissed off, grouchy, didn't do the work, mad at themselves, want a refund. Your job also is not to you're not like, I always say, like, we're not like a bank. People don't give us their money and then they're like, actually, I decided I didn't actually want to do this in any way, shape, or form. So can I have my money back, please? Right? I always am like, you don't put programs on layaway. We really do have to find that balance between how do I hear somebody? How do I respect them? How do I make them feel whole without our business itself being a pushover, without being able to support them? Because, for the longest time, we did have the no refund policy on paper. And we always said, we don't want people to come in and not do the work. We really did want people to come in, make the commitment, show up for themselves, and do the work. Because we knew if people did the work, that they would experience a set of transformation, a deeper understanding of who they are. But when people came to us and they're like, listen, life happened. Right after I bought this, I had every intention, but then my husband got sick. My partner left me. I've had to take care of my elderly parent. Were we sitting there being like, sorry, as per our terms and conditions, no refunds, thank you. But the good news is that you still have 6 months left.
even worse, which I've seen a lot with the big people, is even worse, coming in and saying things like, now is not the time to give up on yourself. Yeah. That's what I have heard a lot of the stories around people when they, and I get it, because when you bring somebody in on hype marketing, they're actually not, when they say it's your intuition, if you're feeling this, if you're feeling called, jump in, it's actually not your intuition that is calling you. It's actually your emotional targeting of different parts of your brain that has been happening that's actually fueling you to do this. And so very often you jump in, and this happens all the time. Like, have you had buyer's remorse, just buying shoes, buying whatever? You buy it and then you have this, I actually didn't even want this. It's because it wasn't your intuition, which gets really confusing, because then when we do have an actual intuitive hit, we're often like, wait, is that my intuition or is that this? And I think, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Melissa, but just to speak to this, I think a lot of people get confused on how do I know the difference? Pay attention to what's triggering your intuition. Are you sitting in like a silent room by yourself being like, I think it's time to do this? Or are you reading something? Look at the marketing behind it. Is there a deadline? I literally, guys, I cannot tell you these days now when I'm going to buy something and then something's like, if you buy it now, they like send you like a coupon and I'm like, don't want it. Because it's like, I can see where I don't want it. It's this hype that is being,
I actually love being an intelligent consumer and knowing all of this now, because actually just for Black Friday, there was a couple of technologies I've been eyeing up, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to wait. And I messaged Sarah and I was like, well, I've been wanting to try this. I've been using their free, but guess what? 50% off sale for a year. We got it for like $80. Or I've also before have been like, I don't know, I'm going to sit in it. I missed the deadline and I email and I'm like, hey, you guys had a deal, whatever, about a week or so, like, is this still available? And a lot of times they'll be like, yeah, no problem. Yeah, or I just re-enter into some funnel so that my new email,
start over, right?
So my new email gets the deal.
I think something to remember, and something that we have really changed in our business that I encourage all of you to do, and I get that this is a hard thing to do because sometimes you need to make money, is that we have really taken a breath. Like, we have really taken some space. Instead of constantly needing to launch something, constantly needing to buy something, constantly needing to do something, we've given ourselves time and space to be like, wait, is this right? And I think where a lot of us go wrong in the marketing of our business is we're so attached to having to make money, right? I got to make money. I got to make money. I got to make money, that we fall into the trap of a lot of these things. And, you know, Claire had said somewhere about, well, what do you do if you're somebody that's spent all your money in this world and now you don't have money and you're like in this space, you know, this is where like a lot of times we got to get a job. We got to go make money in a different way if this doesn't feel good. And guys, I think that the world, this entrepreneur world, has made all of you guys think that like the devil is the job. Like working
the
for
9 to
somebody
5
else is like the worst thing ever. It's not. Like, granted, yeah, some of these companies are shit companies, you don't want to work for them. And I think we're kind of in this transition as a world where a lot of companies like Hey You Human and some other companies who really want to work with their people in more of an entrepreneur type way, because literally everybody who works in my company, I think all 9 of them, we're all entrepreneurs. And now they want to work for a company. So I think it's not necessarily, and I would ask a lot of you guys this who have businesses, like, do you actually want a business, or do you want the freedom, the flexibility, the time, and the money that you think comes with it? Because a lot of times that's actually what you're after. And then the world sold you this like sexy entrepreneur lifestyle that you can have, which really isn't true. Like, building a business like I've built, it takes a lot. It takes a certain type of person, and it takes a person who likes it. Like, I like it. Like, I like it. Most people,
and Sarah's, you're also not alone in your
I'm not
business. I think a
alone.
lot of you are very lonely in your business. And I know with Sarah and I, we work very well together because the things that she doesn't like, I'm like, give me on it. I love it. This lights me up. That's why I failed in a lot of when I had my original venture, is I just loved the back end of business. So I would never actually do the outside marketing stuff. I didn't enjoy it. It was just like, ugh, but I loved setting up infrastructure. I loved running the business. I loved collaborating. I love trial and error. And I mean, a lot of people in our business too, still the trial and error doesn't feel good. It feels like you're scrambling. And to me, it lights me up. It's ingenuity to me, you know? And so you as a solopreneur are expecting to do all the things yourself. And the reality is that you're probably not all the things. And that's okay. Very few people start businesses, just some guy in their basement by themselves, slugging it out day in, day out, 100% by themselves. There's collaboration. There's some yin and yang. And it's, you know, the online business world has really sold this idea that you can be a stay-at-home mom, work 2 hours a day, make your millions. But both Sarah and I have seen on the back end of a lot of these businesses that that's not actually what it is and what it looks like. Yeah. And it's really unfortunate there's only a piece of the pie that's being marketed, because I would wonder how many people, if we said to you, how would you feel about starting from square one 17,000 times before you actually get your big break? Would people be like, sounds like my cup of tea. Where do I sign? But people market based on the outcome, and they really forget about all the tough slugging that happens between A and Z. And so,
and again, you have to like it, because like Melissa and I like it. Like, I love,
guys, I'm on holidays right now. I'm on holidays, and I'm like, I will be there. And it doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like, oh, business. It's like, yes, I love this.
And like,
my kids will come in.
I hate public speaking and I hate being on Facebook Lives. Like, it's like one of my top 5 favorite things to do in life. Like, I could public speak all day, every day. The more people, the more comfortable I feel. Like, the more people that come into a room, the more at ease I feel when I give a public talk. And so I think a lot of it, to speak to some of you who are feeling a lot of shame and confusion around this is to really start figuring out and take some time and space to figure out what is it that you actually want here? The world has told you, and guys, it took me 2 years.
You're not going to be able to journal on this for 15 minutes to get this clarity. Sorry.
It took me 2 years to take a step back from all of this. And you have to work through a lot of the emotions. Claire, you said you're feeling so much shame around this. Feel it. You have to go into it and feel it. It wasn't until I started feeling all the emotions. And one of the biggest things I really had to feel, and I just cried in a puddle, was I just don't want to hurt people. I've hurt so many people. And even though you can rationalize that away in my head, right? I can say I was selling something good. I wasn't really doing it bad. I do know that there were people that probably put things on credit cards, and we weren't selling things for, $10,000, $20,000. And some of these people, are really selling some big ticket things. But at the end of the day, I know that my actions caused harm. I know that they did, right? I know that they did. And I had to work through the emotions around that. I had to feel all of it. And then I had to feel like Claire said, guys, I spent a lot of money on some coaches, a lot of money that really just mind fucked me. And there was a lot of and the worst part too, guys, and I think Kai, you had set it up there, dopamine is not intuition, where I listened to my dopamine instead of my intuition, where my intuition was but my dopamine was but for some reason, I'm still here, right? And that's where I really want you guys who are feeling a lot of this shame and guilt around here to understand that it wasn't all you. Mm-hmm. The way this is done is a hijacking of your brain. It's a physiological process of addicting you to the process of feeling like you're not enough and then continuing. You know why we started launching things so often? Because we had to. You guys would get bored. I couldn't just get you staying in a program with me for a year. You were bored, you'd leave me. So I had to start launching stuff because your dopamine needed it. You needed something. You needed that hit. And if it wasn't going to be with me, you'd go off and find somebody else to do it with. And so part of this is also you sitting on your hands for a while. And I had to sit on my hands for a while. All those shiny things, I've almost taken a year off of buying things, all sorts of stuff. I had to sit on my hands and be and a lot of emotions came up around this. I don't get what I want anymore. A lot of emotions came up and I had to feel all of it. Claire, I never felt like I was not good enough until I entered the coaching industry. Yeah. Because
all in the name of empowerment. That's the hard part.
All in the name of empowerment, because the majority of the coaching industry is actually preying on this little part of you that whispering in your ear, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And is completely, like Melissa said, exploiting it to make money, because every single one of you here is good enough. Every single one of you here is an amazing, wonderful, beautiful human being. And I don't care if you're still in your pajamas and you haven't changed out of them in 3 days. You're wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to start understanding as humans, that success and wealth is not a byproduct of the people we become. Success and wealth is a byproduct of a lot of different things. A lot of times opportunity, and I'm a big astrology person. And I love astrology because a lot of times you can look at, I had our astrologist pull all the different people who've made all this money, because I wanted to be is there a common thread for billionaires or millionaires? Nope, not one. There isn't something that's, it's all different. And some people's paths are to do something like success in terms of wealth in business, and others aren't. And so you need to stop looking at this world and believing that what this world's telling you. Because this world's telling you that you're not going to be happy unless you have all this money and wealth. And I'm going to tell you that that's not true at all. I've had both. I've had it all. I've gone full circle of all the things. And I've been able to find the happiness at all the places. And sometimes even without the wealth, it's even better. Because there's not this whole mentality of more and more and more.
I know we often talk about like the World Vision commercials and how distorted they are, because they'll paint a very particular picture on third world countries, that they're unhappy and that they're impoverished and they need North America to save them with their money so that they can have this, 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 and this. And it's like, you go visit different countries, third world countries, and yeah, they might not have a house with 15 bedrooms, but they're happy. They're stress-free. They just like live life. If they're late, they're not like judgment. It's just, it's
not that
simple.
having all of this stuff is bad. It's what we're making it mean.
Yeah.
We're making it mean something about us when it actually means nothing about us. I'm satisfied in both want and bounty. Yes. It's almost like North America's. It is.
We could take a lesson instead of trying to save them.
Our developed countries, maybe we've got it a little bit twisted, and you know, instead of trying to save them, but at the same time exploiting from them, because that's the real fucked up thing. Oh, like, let's save the children. Oh, but I gotta go get my food for my Christmas party that's over the top, in my car, and my thousands of Christmas presents that all just exploited those countries for all of their natural resources and labor, right? We forget about that. And so we have a really just messed up dynamic that's happening. And it's time for us to just get really real and honest with ourselves. You know, you said, I think I need a deep conversation with my partner and say sorry. Yes. And you guys, you know what? It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to mess things up. It's okay to make big ass mistakes in life. I know I've done it.
Yeah, I have. I think it's called being human.
It's called being human. It doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're unlovable. It doesn't mean people aren't going to like you. It means you're a human. And as humans, the whole experience is about us learning and growing. And sometimes in order to learn and grow, we have to trip and fall flat on our face. And it's not the funnest experience. It's not.
No. But you know, if you, in saying that though, if you have a really beautiful and accepting relationship with your emotions, the shame and the guilt that you feel doesn't feel so heavy anymore. You can just let out those emotions without judgment. And you know, I feel very privileged in working with Hey You Human that I have completely shifted my understanding of emotions, because there's not bad emotions anymore. There are just emotions. And I make a mistake. And in some ways I'm like, I was literally shoveling today and I thought, man, I've completely dismantled all of my need to be perfect. Is that where failure is coming from? Now I just don't really even feel the desire to be better than everybody. Like, your emotions, when you start unraveling them, they're really interesting and they're beautiful, but you need to start releasing those emotions to accept them all in. And the only way to get out of the mind fuckery that has been the X amount of years that you've been in the coaching industry is to really release those emotions, because they are there, the full 360 degrees of them.
And to release a lot of the stories, you know, like, I'm a line 3 in HD. I fail all the time. Like, I'm a line in HD 3 too. I don't look at these as failures. I say I have a plethora of experiences in my life. I have a lot of experiences. And so I think that when we make it a failure, it feels icky, you know? And it's like, we just need to just look at life a little bit lighter, guys, and just have a little bit more fun with it. And when it comes to your business and when it comes to marketing, I think, you know, like the key takeaways that we talked about were kind of like, knock it off with the hype marketing, stop targeting people's woundings, you know, really just speak from, you know, what can you do for a person? You know, what can you do for a person? Not like, you know, I mean, you can share your stories and stuff like that, but I've been trying to keep it so that my stories are separate from my sales.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, if I want to explain something that's happened in my life, the subjective part of me, I do it. When I'm selling, it's more not about me. It's this is what this program can do for you. This is who this program is for. Here, it's not, I went through this experience and this happened and now this. How do you say what you can do help someone without pushing on their pain points and current struggles? So it's not necessarily, so you can push on the pain points and the struggles. It's more about not leaning into the emotional targeting of your not enoughness.
Yeah.
In a way. Like it's, saying, are you, okay, like with parenting, you could say something along the lines of like, if you feel like your kids aren't listening to you and you don't want to be that parent that yells, come join us as we talk about how to overcome situations where kids aren't listening to us so you don't have to yell, right? Like very clear. We're talking about the pain points. We're coming over here, but it's not talking about a story where you're like, I never felt good enough around my children. I felt like the mom who had failed the world. They were just taking advantage of me and I would just cry in the corner day in and day out, not knowing what to do. And then one day I discovered it. I discovered the missing
piece
to saving my children and my life. And then everything changed and I started making money. My husband and I started having the best sex ever and life was on fire. It's that marketing, right? Where it's like, it's not to say, and we went to that for a while, Joy, where we were like, oh my God, we can't talk pain points. Does everybody just want to know what we're doing? It's really fun. Come join us.
And they're like, how many people would be like, I'm so confused by what
oh my God, people were like, we're so confused. What are you doing? Cause like, we wouldn't like talk about it because we didn't want to be like, oh, we're helping you with your stress and your emotions and stuff. And so, yes, you have to talk about it. Dang it. Don't pull me in. I want what they want. And so that's the thing. It's going to be real clear where it's like, hey, I help you get through those annoying snafus in business so that business feels fun, light, and easy again. Like something like that versus like you feel like the business is taking over your life, like this, the real storytelling that a lot of people teach. It's the storytelling that's very subjective, meaning it really only works for you if you're very, very similar to the other person. You have the same unconscious biases, you have all of these things. And so it's just cleaning up the marketing and making it cleaner, making it more straightforward, making it more so that it applies to a bigger demographic of people and not just a certain type, even though, you got to get niched into who you're talking to, but not trying to say like, this applies to everyone,
Or if you do tell a story, make it very clear, like as a single parent with limited income, like that if you're going to hone in, then don't be like, I've been where each and every one of you have been. You
don't leave out big chunks of the story, right? Like in my marketing, and I'll be quite honest, I used to leave out big chunks of the story. It used to be in 2.5 years, we've built this business with ease and flow all the way up to multi-million dollars. Was that true? It was, but I wasn't also talking about all the other things that happened too. And the fact I also put a lot of times in my marketing now too, I say things like, and keep in mind, I was able to do this because I had access to cash. I did fit the mold of what the coaching industry likes to see. So I also tell people that there's also a reason why I may have done this. And if you aren't that might be an issue for you. Keep that in mind.
I wanted to just go up to David's question. He said, what industry do you consider yourself to be working in now?
I would say probably like emotional healing, trauma healing, human development, like really helping people. I say like our new tagline for Hey You Human needs to be like, heal your shit, find your happy, right? Because like, that's what we're doing. We're basically teaching people how to heal the emotional wounding that's inside of them so that they can actually open their lives up to finding their happiness, not the happiness they've been told, but their happiness. How do you say this work is for everyone, even though everyone doesn't get the same results? We don't say this is for everyone. Like
we still have like anybody could come in Certainly, anyone could come in and do the work and have an experience. Yes, Carrie, there's going to be a replay. But we have a very specific target human in mind that we think about when we're marketing. And we don't say it's for everyone.
Well, and yeah, we don't say that in the marketing. And I think we also, don't say everyone will get the same results. Like, we've gotten really away from saying, like, if you do this, you're going to make money, you're going to do this. Our marketing now centers more around like just finding who you are and your zest for life so that you can decide what it is you want and then go and get it. Because yeah, everyone's different. And so, you know, you gotta kind of make sure you're not using those.
We give people the space to, we try and not have, like Sara had said, you know, more have direct bullet point outcomes. It's more just an experience overall. And it really is just getting to know yourself better. And so, I mean, that is, I would say, the bullet point, but that might mean that they have more money, they have less money. It might mean that they stay with their partner, they finally get the courage to make a shift in their marriage. It might mean that they end up getting out of business and going back to work. It might end up meaning that they, you know, sell their house and go live on a deserted island. It's getting to know who they are.
And guys, and some of your work is for everyone. Like, our work is for everyone, but we're not sitting here saying that everyone can make $1 million in 30 days. We're not saying everybody can find the love of their life in 6 months with our course. Like, it depends on what your outcome is. If your outcome is something very tangible like that, then no, it's not going to apply to everyone. It's going to be very subjective. What we're doing is very objective. We're teaching people how to heal their emotional wounds. And that's for everyone. Like, everybody needs to heal their shit. We're not saying you're going to get necessarily a specific tangible outcome of like more money, more time. Those are going to be the byproducts of doing this work. Yeah, maybe, but we can't know that for sure. We're talking more like when we have like our results, it says like this many people have reduction in stress. This many people feel better, have less anxiety, are sleeping better, feel more connected to themselves and the people around them. What we basically did, guys, is we went back to our people and we said, where is everybody actually getting results? And everybody was saying, I have less stress, I have less anxiety, I'm sleeping better, I feel more connected to myself, to life, and to others. And we were like, bingo. That's where we're getting results for everybody. That's what we talk about. Because across demographics, across socioeconomical classes, across races, religions, and blah, 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 we're getting those results. And so a lot of this, guys, is like actually doing the real business things, like surveying your people, doing your marketing homework to find out. Like, a lot of this, the coaching industry doesn't do the things that you're taught in standard business, which is like actually seeing if like your product's viable for the market, actually interviewing all of your past clients to see what was their experience like, what did they like, what happened. I mean, even the biggest of the biggest aren't doing that until everybody gets their panties all in a bunch and are splaying it out online. And then they're like, okay, well, listen, does anybody want to talk to us about what's going on here? But it's like, that should have been.
But if you're going to be rude, we're deleting your comment.
You know, I mean, we've been doing that since the beginning, turning around and asking our people, hey, what was your experience like? Hey, what results did you get? We've been polling our people since the beginning to see if through different races and economical standings and stuff, we're getting similar results. And unless you
where
do
are we
that,
lacking? Like, where we also are, and this is where we're sitting right now, like, where are certain things, if we do want to be for humanity, where are certain things not connecting properly with certain economic, socioeconomic classes, certain races, certain religions? I mean, I think the biggest misconception in the coaching industry is that you'll crack this secret code and put your business on autopilot and you'll never have to work a day in your life. If you're running a business, you're growing with your consumers. I don't think our business is ever going to be at the point where we're like, our hands are up in the air and we're done. Like we have a laundry list of things that we know we want to add on, we want to run, we want to experience, we want to explore. We have certain milestones that we need to meet. If you are just like resting on your past and are just going to sit there and truly believe, like, people will always come to me until the end of time and I'm always going to be relevant, and everything what I said in 1990 is going to continue to resonate with people today, it's just that's just not true. And the coaching industry has created this, like, crack the secret code, crack your perfect offer, and then watch money roll in your sleep. And
exactly.
That's just not it.
You never wanted to be done. If you guys are sitting here wanting to start businesses because you just want to get your business to make money and be on autopilot, like, you're in business for the wrong reason. Like, you should be getting into business because you have something you want to share with the world. You know, Melissa and I, and if you guys have questions, like, now is kind of like just open forum. If you can go ahead and drop them and we'll answer them. You know, Melissa and I were having a moment when the business was like all kind of crazy and we didn't know what we were doing and stuff like this, where it was like, well, what if like we end up like not making money here, like, at all? Like, what are we going to do? And we were both like, well, we'll just get rid of everybody else and you and I will just buckle the fuck down and we'll build this, because like, this is what we want to do. It's not even about making.
I remember saying to Sarah, like, I think I'd have to get another job just to fund my ability to support Hey You Human. Like, I just can't imagine a day. And not everyone's like that. And that's totally fine. Like, if you're like, listen, I'm going to give it a shot, and if it doesn't work in X amount of time, that's fine. Like, no guilt. This is just truly like in my blood at this point. And same with Sarah. Claire, you can do it, but only if you have the codes. Exactly.
And it's true. And that's very much something that's just not true, guys. Like, you don't need any codes. All the answers are inside of you. You just kind of have to find them. Can you please answer mine from before? What do we do if we don't have the money to breathe? And how can we sell now? You know, I mean, a lot of this is the hard part, because this is where, when we're in pickles like this, Claire, we're in pickles like this for a reason. Because usually there's a bunch of emotions that need to be cleared out. And once you clear out these emotions, you're actually going to be able to breathe and you're going to see the very clear answer. I can't tell you what to do. I would love it. I would love it if I was like this oracle seeing human that could sit up here and be like, Claire Chapman, you will now go launch this program and you will say this. And that's what I think a lot of the people in this industry are doing, but they do. And that's why you go do it and it doesn't work. Because it's not you. It's not what you want. I mean, I do know this. There's a million ways to make money. And I've seen you make money. And so you're not even someone sitting here before me who's like never been able to crack this or do this. So you do know how to sell and you know how to do this. But I think you have a lot of shame and guilt and upsetment around this, and you have to go into these emotions and let them come out. And if you have a business vision and it needs funding, then you'll find the funding. You'll find it. You'll find it. We always do. Us people who know we're here to do different things in the world, we find it. But I think sometimes releasing your attachment to the urgency of it and coming back to finding the fun in it. Like, I'm going to tell you, Claire, there were some rough fucking months I went through in this business. I mean, we have a big overhead where I'm sitting here looking at a payroll I have to pay, and I'm seeing what's coming into the company and being like, shit, we're nowhere near this. And having to put my own personal money in big amounts, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 chunks into this company. It was scary as shit. And I knew it as I was going through it, that it was all going to be part of the process, but it was hard to see it and it was hard to be in it. So I get where you're at. Like, I get it. I get it where you're just feeling like a big old failure and like, what the hell? But you have to sit down and be like, you know, what does this mean about me? And really clear out all the stuff you're attaching to it so you can see where that funding's coming from, because it's there. And also start having gratitude for where you're at.
I also want to remind everybody that
it is.
I want to just remind everybody that, again, in business, there's likely going to be a road full of rejections. I mean, nobody in business tells the story how they woke up one day, had a dream, and like a year later, it came full to fruition, except for maybe the coaching industry. But like there's
that's not even true.
a lot of stories on how many times people have been rejected, how many times they've had to, work, pull double shifts, how many stories they had to fund their dream. And just remember that even though people are marketing to you that, oh, my best year ever, I've made X millions of dollars, there's always work that does go into it. As much as I would love to believe that we can sit in the rainforest, just focusing only on our energy, and that's going to just instantly attract the right clients to us, there's tangible stuff that goes into it. And it's finding a balance between really understanding yourself, healing your emotions, and then also doing the work. Like, I mean, Sara and I right now, there's lots of times like I'm doing copy. I hate copy, but I do copy. And it's like, oh, like this is not my jam, but I do it. But there was once upon a time that we were like, well, if you don't like it, then you just don't do it and do work that fuels you. And then we'll just find another. Well, sometimes we just don't have money to hire a whole full-time person to do copy. And so between Sara and I, we're good at it. Her with
the copy.
we do the copy. Like, and we say to each other all the time, like, this is not my full-time job. I also do all of our video edit. There's a lot of stuff that I do that I'm like, this doesn't light me up, but this is what the business needs right now. And I know when we have the financing and the ability to hire X amount more people, this is where it's going to go. I know where the money is going first and foremost, but there's work before you get to that point.
And you guys, and I do believe in the magic. I come from the energy manifestation world, and I do believe in the magic, and I have watched so much magic, but I don't think, when we talk about creating our own lives and this is like, when we make everything about us, right? It gets really hard because then we don't realize that there's a whole, like, you guys are here with 8 billion other people. And I used to talk about this when I talk in the manifesting realm, and we've kind of left the manifesting world because so much of it is just darn wrong. I got sick of being in it because it's like, but anyways, when you make it all about you and your business is you and the money is you and everything, it gets really heavy and hard. And sometimes you have to understand that there is tons of magic in this world, and there are tons of miracles. And I've watched so many things show up in an amazing way. And I really, truly believe, in a sense, that some of us who have come here to do different things in the world, the money doesn't show up until your ass is clean, y'all. Until that money knows it's being put in your hand and you're not going to get hijacked by it, because it's very easy to get hijacked by money. When money comes into you in big amounts, it is easy to get lost in it. And we've watched a lot of that happen. I have worked with a lot of coaches that at certain levels, they were really good. And as the money got bigger and bigger, holy moly, have they lost themselves in it. And it's sad to see, because I remember them back there 5 years ago. I remember them back there earlier on. And I think, God, you have really just been taken by the money. I see it even in businesses like Facebook. Like, do you know how Mark Zuckerberg used to be so committed to not having Facebook have any ads or any revenue generation, because he used to say it would corrupt the entire system? And he said, and this is about connection. This is not about money. This is about people connecting and a new way for us to connect. What happened? He started to get a taste of the money. And now the whole frickin' system's corrupt, and he's right there at the top of it. And so I also think for a lot of you who have these businesses that you're cleaning up and you're making clean, a lot of times we feel so hard in the fact that it's not happening exactly how we want to when we want it to happen. And it must mean something's wrong with us. It often doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. It often means it's just not time yet. Things are still moving and working, and we have to get there. Is there, okay, let me look at some of these. It's a space in Hey You Human team for a volunteer team to be buddy for people in financial trouble to empower them to get more air to breathe and be able to afford Hey You. You know, we're working on something kind of like this. I've talked with Melissa about doing something where we have like our army that kind of like helps market for us, and they get like free access to our courses to do this. So we're working on something like that because I think it would be really cool. I have to say this comment is difficult to digest, but it's also very important. I remember joining the wealth code and it was great. I really learned a lot. And next obvious steps was joining the Limitless. I also purchased, however, a few months and began Limitless a bit icky for the same conversation. Yeah. Open up a whole can of worms. And I realized even though I've invested a lot of money in certification, I no longer want to be a part of this because the backbone of it didn't feel good anymore. Even though the RT was amazing and could help many people, I saw the results in my own life. It's nice to see that you guys have completely pivoted and speaking up about it. My question is this certification at Hey You Home the same or similar to what it was? If so, would it be possible to transfer the payment and do the certification with Hey You Human instead? So if you email us, Katrina, because we do have like a super low, like you don't have to pay the full amount. We have redone our complete certification for exactly those reasons. We just did it. And it's a super cheap, you can get it super cheap because you guys have already been part of it. Oh, Ember was asking, has changed. Yeah, so it's totally different. Yeah, it's totally different because of that. And I, you know, and I get it. This is a hard conversation to digest. And we've had a lot of people being like, but what about all the stuff you taught? Was it wrong? No, the core stuff we taught was not wrong. How we marketed it was not good. And then we had to clean up because a lot of people have asked like, well, why did you get rid of all your programs then if the work was good? We had to change the language in it because remember how I was saying like how I spoke was very subjective based on my little privileged bubble. If I presented that stuff to somebody outside of this privileged bubble, it's not going to resonate and it's going to turn them off, possibly even offend. And so we really had to change our language on how we were speaking about the core work so that people from different demographics, ethnicities, races, socioeconomical classes could really understand what we are talking about. And it wasn't like a kind of exclusive, closed little group that only if you knew the lingo, you knew that you could benefit from it.
Yeah. And you know, like if we would have continued on with Sara Longoria Coaching, it probably would have been fine, but we really wanted to reach the masses. We want to be able to talk to various different types of humans and relate to various different types of humans. And when we would go back and watch it, it just didn't feel right to be like, oh, buy this program from a couple years ago where the language itself was not what Hey You Human used to market. It just, Hey You Human is a different being. It's a different entity now. And yeah, that also meant some of our stuff that we're like, but it's so good. Sarah and I have had this conversation quite a few times where it's like, but it's so good. And then it's like, but is it Hey You Human? No, it's not. And that's part of the conscious decision that we made. Some of them we were like, you know, farewell, goodbye, send you off into the abyss, but it's just time.
Yes, could I speak to my thought process on changing the certifications after selling with lifetime access and updates, but now changing those who signed up at the beginning? Yes. So you still have lifetime access to it. So you still have lifetime access to the old one. You can still use the information. It's very useful to those that are still in that manifestation spiritual world. It's great information. You know, I think this is part of just being in business and learning from business. We were very much in that coaching space where everybody gave lifetime access and all of this. I learned very quickly, this is not a good way to do business because it just sets you up for shit when you want to change things and problems when you want to change things. That it's very, again, that hype marketing. Oh, I'll give you this forever and ever. And you'll feel great about it. And then a lot of people were like, well, why are you charging for this new one? Like, why aren't you just giving it to us? Well, at the end of the day, we delivered on our product. Like we delivered a good ass course that you can still use if you would like to change with us. And we totally appreciate that and love that. It's a whole new course and I had to pay people to do it. We had to do it. It costs us money. And as much as I would love to just say, sure, give it to everybody, like that's just not how it works in our business right now. Like we have to make money to be able to pay for these things and move through them. And to me, it just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't feel right. In a sense, I just didn't want to give it away because a lot of those people aren't the people who are going to be coming with us. And I wanted to make sure the people who wanted to come with us were serious in a way. We didn't charge anywhere close to full price for it for that reason, because I didn't feel like it was right to be like, oh, now you have to buy the full price again. But it felt right that they did have to have a little skin in the game on this. And they did have to kind of say like, yep, we're here for it. I'm ready to do it. And it might not feel right to everybody. And I get that. But at the end of the day, that is what felt good to us and felt, reasonable and ethical and a way for us to kind of navigate kind of a sticky situation that had occurred as we kind of grew and changed. And
yeah, I think I want to just interject on that as well.
That is true. We also have the live support as well.
The certification program kind of danced between Sara Longoria Coaching, like the manifesting world, and Hey You Human for a very, very long time. So when we sold our level 1 certification program, it was very energetic, energy centric. It was very manifesting. As Hey You Human evolved and we added more live support, more practice sessions, that stayed with the people that paid the entry-level price for the certification program.
Wait, hold on a second, Melissa. She's talking about level 2. Level 2.
Yeah, there's no change to the level 2.
Level 2 hasn't changed. You still have level 2. It's still the same.
Yeah. But if you Melanie, if you have a very specific question based on when you purchased and what you've experienced, it's probably best to email support@HeyYouHuman just to make sure that we're speaking specifically to your situation. Because right now we're on a more one-to-many communication, but to come full circle. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, if she's speaking specifically to, we didn't give level 2, the new level 1, that was because you guys you don't really need the level 1 stuff. The new level 1 stuff came out of all of the stuff we learned from you guys and going through that we were teaching in addition and knew we needed to redo it. And anything that I think you guys need in terms of the human development stuff, that will be added to your course. So you guys, the level 2s, you guys are good. That was more just a courtesy. Like if you wanted it and wanted to go through the new course, like you can upgrade and pay for it, but you don't need it at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
All right.
Well,
thank you so much for hanging out with us for a good couple of hours.
2.5 hours. I appreciate all of you who are interested in this and the questions and the feedback. And, I think that we're going to change some things around here, all of us. So,
if you're brand new to our world and you're just curious, how do you continue to hang out with Hey You Human? Our free community is, if you head to heyyouhuman.com, there's a free community you can join just to continue to learn about our work. And like Sara said, you can learn the rapid relief technique for free. We have our free weekly wake up every Wednesday where we actually go into healing and all of the things. This is more for people who are experiencing us for the first time and want to stay connected. We'd love to have you and get to know you better.
Yeah. And Claire, I answered your question as best as I can. Those of you that don't have cash right now are in debt because of everything you're talking about here. That sucks. It really does. And really, I think the first thing you have to do is you have to move through the emotions around this, because like I said, I've seen you make money. I know you're capable of making money. So you're not even someone who's on the different spectrum of has never even made money. So you gotta move through the emotions so that you can see clearly. That's our biggest thing, guys. The emotions stop us from being able to see the clear path. And when we actually finally start to feel them and process them and get them out of the body, everything becomes so much more clear. And so you got to feel them, guys. And then I bet you're going to know, is the Hey You Human team trauma trained? Yes, we do lots of fun stuff on trauma and making sure it's not in our marketing and all of that and training on it. So yeah. All right, guys. Well,
Thank
if
you
there
so much,
aren't
you
any other
guys.
questions, we'll see you later.
Bye.